So after starting the season 4-1, the Lions are now 2-3 in their last five games, alternating wins and losses, and that trend continues with a very, very frustrating loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, 16 to 9, super low scoring. And if you had told anyone that the Lions would hold the Eagles to 16 points, stop, not one, not two, but three tush pushes, you would think that they'd be in a very great spot to win the game. And it never really felt like they had a chance because of how horrible the offense was. Welcome into the Payne and Drain show following that game. My name is Zach Payne. I'm one half of this show, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Alex Drain. Alex, how are we feeling after another Lions loss?
Well, it's interesting territory. Been quite some time since we were here. I would say fan base mood is at its lowest point since first week of November 2022, probably. I mean, give or take the playoff losses, but I think that's a different ballpark than a regular season situation. So it's been a little while since the Lions were in a position where the fan base is having some doubts about coaching staff, having some doubts about the roster, having some doubts about the front office. There's been a lot of tough conversations being had this week after that defeat. But I will say that on first watch, I was pretty down about the team and the season. And then when I went back and looked at the tape again, I think there's still some things to be hopeful about. And I think, honestly, the biggest story is if Jared Goff was better, they might have won this game. And that's, uh, to me, the biggest talking point. Like, you just weren't going to win that game with the caliber of play he gave you, but usually he's better than that. And perhaps that's a reason for optimism moving forward.
Yeah, and this is again one of those games where we look at the offense and say, well, they couldn't run the ball, which means they couldn't adequately set up the play action, which means they didn't score points, and that's partially true. Another aspect of that is the interior of the offensive line getting beat up by the Eagles front. They had, I mean, Carter and Davis batted down five balls as well, on top of just being good on the pass rush. Jalen Phillips was fantastic off the edge. Moro Ojomo, who was unbelievable as a rotational piece for them, he stopped a couple of big plays too, including the fourth down against Gibbs. It just felt like for as much as the Lions were able to generate yards most of the day, they weren't coming consistently, and they didn't happen when it mattered most, which is on those fourth downs that we'll get into. The Lions scored just 9 points in this one, their fewest in a game since that 2023 blowout loss to the Ravens. I guess, we have to start with the elephant in the room, which is the fourth downs, the lack of an ability to finish drives. We'll talk about the theory of like would you go for it or would you not later. But in terms of the Lions' execution when it mattered most, what was going wrong for them in those key spots?
Well, it was a combination of a lot of things. I mean, I wrote down the four fourth downs that they went for and didn't get. The fifth was the fake punt, which is its own topic, not related to the offense. So, of the four fourth downs, you have a 4th and 1 at midfield where they get really good push from the offensive line, especially in the interior up front. And as the play was starting, I actually said out loud in that like 1 second, I was like, oh, they've got this. And, and they didn't because Gibbs is stonewalled just short. To me, my biggest thought with this play is where's David Montgomery? Like, I know we do Gibbs drives, Monty drives, but at the end of the day, I don't want Gibbs in on that play call, especially against this team. You've been struggling up front. I want the guy in who always falls forward. I want the guy in who drags tacklers forward. We know Gibbs is a tougher runner than he's made out to be, but that is a play, especially with the push they got up front. All you needed was an extra foot of muscle falling forward. I think Montgomery gets that one. And it's really frustrating that he's not in for that play. Then you have a 4th and 5 where Goff has time. He's got JMO open. People were mad about a drop here on JMO. I wasn't. I watched this play on replay. That ball's thrown to his ankles. Like maybe he could come up with it, but Goff isn't pressured really. He's got time. There's no reason to throw that ball in that position. I mean, he's making it unnecessarily difficult on a wide receiver.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, JMO dips down to make like a catch as he's falling to the ground, and it goes through his hands. Like I get that like maybe Goff didn't make it easy on him, but at the same time, you're an NFL wide receiver. You should be able to make a catch as you're going to the ground without it going through your hands. And it was also frustrating because it was one play after a ball went off the fingertips of Amon-Ra. So it was
Yeah.
just frustration on.
The Amon Ra one was worse than the JMO one, but both of those balls were not good balls, and there was no reason for them to be bad. Like that, those are throws you expect Jared Goff to put on a dime, and he doesn't. And so, whichever way you want to assess blame, I would put it more on the quarterback, but the wide receiver can also help his right. It's kind of like when you
Yeah.
give up when you have like a bad turnover in hockey, and then it's a one-on-one, and the goalie doesn't save it. It's like, okay, well, the goalie could make a save, or the defenseman could not turn it over. Right? There's blame on both sides, however you want to do it, but regardless, issues there. Then fourth and goal. Goff has right wide open. Can't see him. Penei Sewell gives up pretty much an uncontested rush, barely gets a hand on Jalen Phillips. Um, what is there really to say? You've got an offensive line that's struggling. You have, I think by that point was Tristan Colin in at guard. I mean, you have Coyote Awashika at the other guard. You've got Glasgow who's struggling. I mean, I'm sorry, but Sewell needs to be better there. Like you've got so many other issues on the OL. You can't have your All Pro barely get a hand on the pass rusher on a fourth and goal.
And when's the last time Sewell got pantsed like that? It's been a long time since someone has beat him that cleanly. Like Sewell is one of the best offensive linemen of the year. Will probably be in the conversation for that Protector of the Year award. He's you can't get beat that cleanly ever, let alone in that situation. And it's the easiest play. Like if Sewell blocks Phillips even moderately well, that's a touchdown every
Yep,
time.
yep. And then you have a fourth and three where Goff throws to no one in particular, really. I guess Amon Ra, I think, was the closest receiver, but it wasn't to anybody. So there isn't really a pattern across those plays. They all have different issues. Some are on OL, some are on quarterback, some are on receivers, some are on the wrong running back in the game. But they just had systematic failures over and over again across the board. And it's just been another week where the unit isn't sharp and different guys are not performing for different reasons. But it's starting to enter the stretch run of the season. They're not out of time. They're not quite running out of time, but they are rounding, we're going to the home stretch, and these games are really going to matter soon. And you just need better performances across the board. Like the interior OL play is always going to be an issue. It's on the rest of the team to pick them up, and they didn't pick them up in this game.
Yeah, and it's difficult because when we say interior OL is a problem, in a vacuum, it's like, okay, that's one part of the team that maybe isn't where you want it to be. The problem is when that cascades into also limiting the run game, also impacting Goff in a very negative way. And the result is that one issue actually turns into a domino effect where four or five different things offensively suddenly don't work. And it makes the offense completely ineffective. We have seen this now in the second half of the Chiefs game when the Chiefs got the lead and the Lions couldn't run the ball. They couldn't hold up in pass protection as well. We saw it in the Vikings game where the offensive line was getting destroyed and Goff couldn't do anything. The run game couldn't do anything. And now we see it in this Eagles game where the run blocking doesn't hold up consistently enough. Goff is under pressure and doesn't trust his protection. And when he doesn't trust his protection, he panics, he's inaccurate, and he's making bad decisions. And as a result, the offense doesn't move. Plain and simple. Or not and doesn't perform consistently enough. They had big plays in this one. They had the two-play 74-yard drive where they hit a beautiful crosser to Amon-Ra and then a beautiful crosser to JMO for a 40-yard touchdown. They had Gibbs breaking a couple of plays as a receiving threat, over 100 yards receiving in this one, where Gibbs just was making magic happen in the open field. But down to down, the consistency just was not there, plain and simple.
It felt like their best stuff in this game were the swing passes, check downs. That's how Gibbs got a lot of his yardage in this game, but also how they found JMO quite a bit in this game. I mean,
Mhm.
the easy stuff they were able to do worked a lot, and that worked between like the 20s the 20, the like the minus 20 to the plus 40 roughly, right? Like they could drive that portion of the field pretty well. And then the drive would stall out in between the 40, 30 yard line of Philadelphia territory. And it's hard to do a lot when your vertical passing game isn't working, but it did feel like they could have probably done a little bit more with the screens and swing passes even when they got to that part of the field. But at the end of the day, Goff's issues throwing the ball down the field was going to be an issue here. When you have a quarterback who's not throwing accurate passes, and he wasn't. It's not just the ones we mentioned. He turfed other balls. Like there were throws that, and he also was locking on to Amon-Ra too much, which is something we've seen with
Yep.
Goff in his worst games over the past couple years. It was kind of all of his issues. Like that was a worst case scenario Goff game. Like all of
Yep.
the things that we see, immobility, issues with pressure, accuracy starts to waver, locking onto Amon Ra, batted passes, which were what, three or four of them in this game at least. Five? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it,
Three
it
by
was all
Davis.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was three by Davis, two by Carter. And I think Amon-Ra had 12 targets, was it? And two receptions. How
Yeah,
does
not
that
good.
happen?
And
Like, and
I think the first pass of the game was a catch for Amon Ra. So he was like 1 for 11 after that.
yeah, and there was like it was all sorts of things. Amon-Ra had a drop. There was the weird one in the middle where Amon-Ra's open and Goff throws it behind him and Amon-Ra's to stop and it hits his hands. It like they just were out of sync. Amon-Ra was also getting blanketed by Quinyon Mitchell most of the game. Like Mitchell was fantastic for that Eagles defense. So combine good coverage with poor accuracy, a couple of drops, and you have a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's now a couple weeks here where we have to have some Amon Ra discussion, unfortunately. Just with the drops, it's just been a bit of a problem recently, and I don't know where it
And
came from.
well, and it's the same thing, and we'll talk about like the Hutchinson setting the edge issue. It's like, where did this come from? This has not ever been an issue, and suddenly this year it's become an issue. Amon-Ra, one of the most sure-handed receivers in all of football. You could probably count on one hand the amount of drops he had in the previous 3 seasons, and he has like five or six in this. Like he's in the top 10 of drops, I'm pretty sure this season.
Yeah, he needs to trade the microphone for a jugs machine.
I mean, I don't imagine he stopped that, but like it, I wonder if there's like an injury maybe. Like, is there like some sort of hand or wrist injury? We saw him like jam a finger a couple of weeks ago. Like, I don't know, grasping at straws, but it's just so out of character that I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, JMO was he felt like the number one target in this game. Like when they were finding him, things were happening.
Yeah.
When they were targeting Amon Ra, nothing was happening. And then there really wasn't much involvement from other receivers in this game. I mean, Brock Wright, 2 catches on 7 targets, to Slaw 1 target. That's it. No Khalif Raymond targets, even though a week ago they were really getting him involved. Not sure what happened there. But again, your quarterback's really uncomfortable. He puts up 40% completion on 6.9 yards an attempt, one interception. What do you think about the batted passes that we mentioned? Who are you assigning blame to there?
I don't even know if I can properly like a couple of times there's one or two where it's like Goff needs to put some loft on his passes. I kind of just give credit to Davis and Carter. Like by all accounts, I've been talking to Eagles fans this weekend. They have said that this is something that those guys practice a lot is getting in the passing lane and jumping up at the line. So whenever like they'll try to rush, and anytime they can sense that they're beat and they're not going to get to the quarterback, they just try to jump in the lane and make things happen. So I kind of am leaning more towards giving praise to the Eagles more so than blame anyone.
When I chart games, we classify batted passes as a negative quarterback event. I think ultimately it's fairly contextual. Like what is
Yeah.
going on it? Is it a deep rush? Is it the guy getting his hand right? Because like if his hands are up and then you throw it into them, that's on the quarterback. If you're
Yeah,
throwing it
versus
and then he
yeah.
puts the hand up, then it's a little bit tougher. Um, I but when it keeps happening, maybe we can say something about Goff there. I don't know. Do you remember by the way, who the best ever Lion was at knocking passes down?
Um, It wouldn't have been like Ziggy Ansah, would it?
I've got Ashawn Robinson. I just remember him being really, really good at that. Like he would get his like he would knock down one or two
Yeah,
like
I
pretty
guess it
frequently.
and it makes sense because he's not a good like he was a run stuffer, not really a
Yeah.
pass rusher. So he would just be like, "Well, I got to help some." And you know what? That's kind of the role that Tyleek was starting to develop at the start of the year. What like to start the year before like when Tyleek was useless as a pass rusher, he had like two or three batted balls in the first couple of games. So
It's a good skill. Like if you know how to like read the quarterback's eyes, and you're if you're especially if you're a long defensive tackle and you can get the big reach up there. And both those guys from Georgia on the defensive line, Carter and Davis, were really good at that for Philly too. And obviously, it creates an interception, and that interception was 3 points for Philadelphia. I mean, the toughest part about it is the offense for the Lions really gave Philly the win, not just in their inability to drive the field, but field position. They couldn't finish off drives around midfield, and then the interception deep in territory. Though that's the points that the Eagles needed to win this game, despite a pretty poor effort from themselves in this game on their side of the ball. So we're in this position where the Lions have had a couple really good performances on defense in the last few weeks. One against the Vikings. They didn't give up many yards in that game. They held the Vikings, I think, to 4.4 yards per play. Eagles, they didn't give up many yards, held them to a very low point yards per play clip, and you lose the game both times. And it's just not good enough from the offense right now. It's not good enough from a lot of guys. The interior line feels like at the moment it puts a bit of a ceiling on this team, but after I did watch the game again, I was like, just better games from Goff and the receivers, and they could win this game. And that would have been a road win against the Eagles. Like it's not the season's not over. If the defense is good enough that if Goff can play well and the receivers get better and they get just they flip the switch, that there's a possibility here, even with the OL situation, for them to do something this season. But it's got to start with the guys you lean on, the guys you expect to be really good, because they weren't good enough in this game.
yeah, we came into this game saying we want a competitive game. That's all we want. And now I'm sitting here a few days after more upset because of how winnable this game was
Yeah.
and the way that they lost. Because, yes, it was a competitive game, it was a one score game, but the offense didn't feel like this was billed as a heavyweight clash between the Eagles and Lions, two of the best in the NFC. And it felt like the Lions offense did not live up to that hype and did not live up to the matchup, did not live up to the moment. This is now between the Chiefs, the Vikings, the Eagles, the Packers, the four losses that the Lions have. It's all mostly like it's against good defenses where the offense struggled to consistently generate yards and points. Do you give more credit? Like you talk about ceiling. Is it just a matter of like the Lions are not going to be able to perform against elite defenses, or are these elite defenses doing anything special to stop the Lions?
I don't think they're doing anything special. I think what I will say, first of all, is just we're going to learn more about them versus elite defenses, particularly in the defensive line area, where you look forward to this Lions schedule, and they're going to have opportunities to figure things out or not figure things out down the stretch here, because the Giants this week, we all think that's a very winnable game. They have some dudes up front.
Oh
Abdul
yeah.
Carter, Brian Burns. Then you get the Packers. That needs no introduction. A couple weeks later, the Rams.
Hmm.
Jared Verse, among other players up front. Then you got the Steelers, TJ Watt. I mean, I know their defense has been bad this year, but there is talent up front on that defense. And then you got the Vikings, where, again, needs no introduction. We just saw what they did against the Lions. So they're going to get more reps in against those guys up front. And I don't think these defenses are necessarily doing anything great. I think it's just been when you have teams like the Eagles, like the Packers, who have the talent up front, or the Vikings, who have schematic ways to mess with the Lions, it's been a problem. And then you've played teams like Cincinnati or Washington that have nothing up front, and the Lions just smoke them. So that's kind of the trade off at the moment. Problem is, to win in the playoffs, you're going to have to figure out how to get around those issues, because, of course, the teams you're playing are going to have good defensive lines. We just named half the teams you'll see in the playoffs on that list there. So, um, but I think if you are a person that isn't a Lions fan, you're just watching this game, it was easy to fall back into the Goff can never do it against pass rush. And, this is Rams Goff. He's back. He always was. Ah, ha, ha, the whole thing.
And the weather too with the wind.
Right. But last year he was good against pressure. He was good against the blitz. He was really effective standing in there. I obviously it's worse when it's an uncontested rush and the guy doesn't get a hand on him. There's Goff will never be able to spin out of that and do a Patrick Mahomes sort of thing. But we've seen him be able to handle blitz and pressure in the past. If they can just give him a little bit of time and he can get back to what he does best, I think there's still potential here.
I think the difference for Goff is he's really good against the blitz because he can diagnose where it's coming
Whereas,
from
yeah,
and who's going to be open as a result. Against if the opponents are able to rush with four and get pressure consistently, that's when he gets into trouble because he has to like above all else, he has to trust his protection to trust that he has time to throw. And when he doesn't trust his protection, it just rattles him a little bit because he isn't able to get the ball out quickly when there's more guys in coverage. He's not able to find like he needs time to be able to process and find the open receiver. And when he doesn't have that time, that's when he runs into trouble. So he's going to be one of the weirdest QBs like perpetually because he's so good against the blitz, but so bad against pressure that it's just something you have to live with. And that's why like the ceiling for Goff is the ceiling of the offensive line. If when the offensive line is best in the league, Goff is going to be a top five QB because he has all day to throw. Doesn't matter who he's playing, he can sit back there comfortably. When the offensive line is middle of the pack, sometimes Goff is going to look like a average starter because that's just the nature of things when you have that, especially when it's up the middle and the interior is the problem offensively.
yeah. I mean, I know you said it when you can't predict it, but when you're going up against the Eagles, you can kind of predict where it's going to come from to some degree with
Yeah.
your guard situation versus their tackles. But that's where the Sewell stuff really hurt and
Yeah.
rushes from other places. I mean, they definitely got. There was one pressure they got where you had Wright against I think Jalen Phillips, and it's like okay, well, we know what's going to happen there, but
And they made Wright go across the formation to block him too.
yep,
Like,
which plenty of teams run that stuff. It doesn't work in the NFL or the college football. Honestly, I don't like it. I get why teams do it, but it doesn't. It's just not effective enough. So it's just got to be better across the board. And I think the one question coming out of this game is about the play calling and game management in terms of was it right to be attacking that much on fourth down? There was also several third and medium runs, which were an old staple, and they couldn't really do that either. They got one third and four conversion on the run, which I liked. And then they tried to do it again later in the drive in third and goal. It didn't get them anywhere. And I tweeted during the game that the Lions offense is just lacking their identity. And I think that's kind of the issue here, in that everything the Lions offense under Dan Campbell has been built on is the ability to get short yardage, the ability to get those third and medium runs, the ability to just sort of impose yourself up front and let Goff cook. And in that game, none of it was working. And this year has just been a struggle of trying to run this offense and do the things they want to do when your OL is often not up to snuff. And it's
yep,
created just kind of a crisis about the team they want to be and the way they want to play.
yep. And another, yeah, and as you say, the game management is another factor of this. We'll talk about the coaching decisions later. However, something we will talk about here, second week that Dan Campbell's been calling plays, some a lot more questionable play calls, running four times in a row and not getting a first down. Can't have it. Like you said, the third down runs when they're not working. I mean, it's technically better than a screen, but not by much. I can't, and again, it's tough to tell when so much of the way we judge play calling, as you've said in the past, is did the play work or did it not? It felt like they couldn't do what they wanted to do offensively, though. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to properly grade play calling when their plan kind of fully went awry.
Yeah, that's the biggest question is they're going to have to come up with a new plan moving forward because some of the staples that they like just aren't there. Now, at the same time, you look at the total performance in this game 317 yards, 60 plays, 5.3 yards per play. This is a really good Eagles defense. That's better than the Packers did the previous week. It's better than the Giants did the week before that. Like this is an Eagles defense that is quite good. I mean, the Broncos beat them 21-17. They had 358 yards, 5.1 yards per play. I mean, the top line numbers are totally fine. It's just those high leverage moments that have been missing for the Lions
Yeah.
and turnovers and just big negative plays. And that goes back to the Vikings game as well. They're not that far off, but where they're off is very pronounced and it has a huge impact on these games.
Yeah. So with that said, do you have anything else you want to mention about the offense before we flip over to the defense?
Um, just mirroring on what I said about that one, the fourth and short, I just want to see a little more David Montgomery in these games. 6 carries in this game, and he was 4.5 yards per carry. I mean, he
Yep.
was doing fine, and and he caught one ball for 10 yards. It just feels like he's been really put on the back burner, and I get how good Gibbs has been, but I think that can give you something, and they need to find more ways to get him involved.
His yards per touch, yards per carry are exactly in line with the previous 2 seasons. It's just his volume's down. So useful player.
Yeah, need to keep him in the mix.
Yeah. So as for the defensive side, this is where we get to talk a lot more positively about this team because they performed very well holding the Eagles under 4 yards per carry or for per play. Kelvin Shepard has this unit firing on all cylinders, even with a very depleted secondary. Amik Robertson dominant against Devonta Smith in coverage. Rock Ya-Sin solid against AJ Brown, considering how aggressively they were targeting him throughout the game. He had a number of targets and catches. The yards were relatively in check, but exactly what you were predicting would come to pass. The Lions don't necessarily focus on rushing the passer as much, and they forced Jalen Hurts to process in the pocket for a long time. And oh boy, did that go horribly for the Eagles. This was like, for as much as this was a good defensive performance, this was a really bad Hurts game.
But those happen,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the thing with him is he is liable to that sort of thing. And the Lions, they rushed three on a lot of plays, and they just kind of let Hurts. But their coverage looked pretty good to me too. Like when he did throw the balls, it's not like they pan the camera and you're like, wow, there were a lot of open
No, no,
receivers.
no.
I mean, the Lions came ready in this game. They were able to keep Hurts in the pocket. His scrambles were next to nothing in this game, very unproductive. They gave up two QB draws for chunks, which is going to happen. There's nothing you could really do about that. But they didn't let him do much in the pass game. They got off the hook a couple times with some drops from the different Eagles receivers. But for the most part, they were just really good in this game. And they had the approach you need to have against the Eagles offense and kind of textbook performance. And the craziest part about it is how tough of spots they were put into with field
Oh,
position and score effects. They were up against it a lot and wiggled out of it repeatedly. And that's really nice to see.
the funniest part from this game is when the Lions down by 10 with like 3 minutes to go, and the defense gets them the ball on the Eagles 30, and the Lions offense loses 7 yards and kicks a field goal. Like, if that's not symptomatic of this whole game, I don't know what is. The Lions defense, outstanding. One thing that was interesting is on early downs, in an effort to keep Saquon in check, which they did throughout this game, the fronts that they were using, it's kind of that their 4-3/5-2 base where Derek Barnes is that hybrid edge rusher, but they were running Ali McNeil as the edge or more 4-eye opposite Hutchinson in this game in order to get Tyleek and DJ Reader on the field at the same time with McNeil. And that had a good amount of success against the run. McNeil had a couple of nice splash plays as well, forcing tackles for loss. But they definitely, I felt the emphasis to try to keep Tyleek on the field to stop the run. And it seemed to be working for the most part. I still have my gripes with Hutchinson and his edge defense. There was the one run that Tank Bigsby had for like 19 where Hutchinson just crashes too far inside and Bigsby's able to bounce it out. But for the most part, the run defense held up as we hoped it would.
Yeah, run defense was fine. They didn't get gashed by Saquon. They didn't give up some huge home run for a touchdown. A couple chunks here and there, but again, that's going to happen. Uh, really, not much you can be disappointed with. And there were some really nice plays where they produced TFLs and things that
Yep.
set drives back. I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me is the 3rd and 1 where they get a TFL. First of all, the Eagles didn't try the tush push on that one. As
Yep.
we saw later in the game, hey, maybe it wouldn't have worked because the Lions solved the code. But it was strange to see them not tush push on that, and then it turns into 4th and 2 because you get a TFL there. DJ Reader was the one just stonewalled where the gap was supposed to be, and it knocks the running back, and then the pocket kind of closes up around him for a loss, and then they end up punting. So that was a huge play in this game. But there were a couple others too, not to mention Alex Anzalone has a TFL on a swing pass for like
Yep.
-5 against Saquon. I mean, this was just really impressive stuff. And we know that the Eagles OL is better as a pass pro unit than a run blocking unit, but still a really good performance. Roy Lopez had a great game
Yep.
with a sack, but also in run defense. And the linebacking play for this team is just really good. It's crazy that you are going to be getting Rodriguez back at some point in the upcoming future because I don't
Well,
know where he's going to.
he was activated, so
Right. I mean, where is he going to get snaps? Probably just special teams. Like right now, the way Campbell's playing and then Anzalone and Barnes, this is just a rock solid group right now. And they were in command of the game again in this one.
yeah. And so I will say I was laughing because Roy Lopez with just an unbelievable rush to get the sack, and Hutchinson steals half of it because he was blocked by a tight end on the play, which poor Roy Lopez, he only gets half of one there. But still well deserved. He was fantastic. All four of the interior defensive linemen in this one were outstanding. Reader, his best game of the season by far. It
Yep.
just is the way he was standing up to that. Like you knew this was going to be a physical game up front for the Lions defensive line, and they stood tall in there. Like we said, they've stopped three tush pushes, which I don't know if anyone has done before. And the Lions, and we got the whole organization deserves credit because the Lions are the only team on the Eagles schedule that said keep the tush push. We are going to play them legit. We're not afraid of it, and they came in and stopped it. Like that, if the Lions had won this game, that would have been such a baller move to just be like, yeah, we're not afraid. We're not afraid of it, and then they come in and stop it and win the game. Unfortunately, they don't win, so no one's going to care. But just amazing by this front. And the way that they had Tyleek and Reader like crash the middle and just not move because that's what they do. They just don't move. And then they had the linebackers loop around to stop the second effort. Like it was Shepard had a great plan for it too. Like full credit all around.
Oh, and then a very strange penalty.
False start. They still can't officiate it correctly.
What was going on with that? I
Yeah, like I guess they
so
ruled
the
that
so
the
the
right guard
guard
swatted the hand.
right. Well, so right, it's Tyleek he's swatting, right? Tyleek
Yeah.
lines up in the neutral zone, and then he's like, get back," and then they just like start batting at each other's hands, and then all of a sudden a flag comes in. I'm like, what?
And it comes in after Tyleek jumps.
Yeah, I have never seen that in my life. Like that was so I don't even know what to say about that. It's like the remember last year when the Texans tackle tried to strip sack his own
Yeah.
quarterback? Like what you think you've
Some
seen it all and then you see something new.
Yeah, it was a very bizarre play. I wonder if the refs were just feeling the pressure to call a false start on the tush push because of the all the talk about it. They did have a legit false start later in the game, so the Eagles line up for it what 6 times, and one of them works, and the one that worked was from like the 1 inch line on the goal line there. So pretty hard to stop regardless.
Yeah, I mean
Just
that's
yeah,
impressive performance from the Lions. I mean it was really I think the front won them the game on that side of the ball, but
yeah,
The secondary was good too. And Rock Yassin, was he perfect? No, but he battled hard. Robertson, was he perfect? No, but he battled hard.
Mhm.
And the safeties, I didn't have anything negative on them. Even with Kirby Joseph out, I mean, Branch gets a penalty, which
I
is
was gonna say Branch had the one penalty, like the hit to the head, I guess.
whatever.
It
Uh, yeah, I
he does
this was
that.
just yeah, this was a good defensive game, and I pulled up some numbers here for the this is the defensive numbers for the season. 4 weeks in a row, the Lions have held an opponent to under 300 yards. We have to
Very
go
good.
back to the Kansas City game for the last time someone got better than that. Casey had 355 in that game.
And that was the only
On
really bad defensive game.
Yeah, and on the year, six opponents in 10 games have been held under 300 yards. They are number five in defensive yards per game against, 291.8 yards against. Number eight in receiving yards per game. Number eight in rushing yards per game. Number 10 in scoring defense. Number 13 in takeaways. They're upper half in everything. And on the whole, this is looking like a really good defense. And the shame of it all is they currently don't have a 23 or 24 caliber offense with this defense.
Yeah, oh, man. The Lions, if they had this defense in 2023, they might have just to the Super Bowl in most spectacular fashion. Like,
They might have won the Super Bowl.
oh, they would have. That's what I'm saying. Like, they would have
Yeah.
probably blown out every single opponent on way to the Super Bowl. Like, it would have been the most it would have been an Eagles-like run from last year where everything is clicking, but it's the way we had to sacrifice some offensive skill points to get the defense up and running, I guess.
Yeah, and the craziest thing too is these last few weeks, this has been with a pretty banged up secondary. I mean, DJ Reed hasn't been available
Very.
for any of those games. Terrion's been in and out with different injuries. Kirby has been either out of the lineup or barely able to walk when he has played. Like this has not been. I mean, Branch missed a game in there with with the
The
suspension and
suspension.
stuff. So this has been a completely jumbled secondary, and yet they're having the success they're having. And just all credit to Kelvin Shepard. This is a really good group, and if the offense can figure it out at some point, the Lions can certainly be dangerous. I feel like there's a world right now where the Lions are a 7 seed that just doesn't have it and gets drummed out pretty quickly. And then there's a world where they are a seed that no one wants to play and make the Super Bowl. And it just comes down to the offense.
The range of outcomes for the Lions is so funny because right now they're out of a playoff spot entirely at
Yep.
the time of recording this. They could win the division. They could be the 5 seed. They could be the 6, 7 seed. They could miss the playoffs. That's still within the range of outcomes. And talent-wise, this is a playoff team. Like we know that, like talent-wise, the Lions are a playoff team. It's just, are they able to make the most of the opponents that they should beat and win a couple of these more difficult games that are remaining on the schedule. And obviously that Thanksgiving game looms large as well. Last thing before we wrap on the defense, real quick, what did you think of that defensive pass interference on Rocky Seat at the end?
I mean, that's more ref talk than defense. But my only thought about it was remember when they had the review system for DPI after the incident in the NFC Championship game and like nothing was ever overturned. And so they got rid of it. It's really rare to see something that would have been overturned. That's like the one.
Yep.
that's that's the one kind that would be overturned where there is literally no contact from the defensive player and it's in fact the offensive player initiating.
Yeah.
So it was a dumb system, it was a dumb attempt to fix something, but we found the one where it would have been useful.
Yep. A very bizarre play, although I don't have faith the offense would have done anything anyways. So
Not at
it's all
all. I
good.
mean, it's like I said, they didn't deserve to lose on a bad call. They deserve to lose on Goff throwing the ball into the ground again.
Yeah. All right, switching gears here to more of the special teams talk. I don't know, like we can talk special teams. Jake Bates misses a extra point in this one with the very chaotic wind. Aside from that, though, I don't know. Do you have many special teams notes you want to hit?
You mean Bates misses the 49 extra point, makes from 54. It seemed like the wind died down over the second
Yeah.
half of the game.
Yeah.
So, other than that, touchback, kickoff return to the 36, touchback, were the three kickoffs in this game. Not much to say about that. Fox 38-46, pinned inside the 20, 30, pinned inside the 20, 55. That one, the 55 was a bomb. And then they got the defensive or the holding on the return team. So that was a great job to flip the field. Other than
Yeah.
that, not a lot to say, except for
But yeah.
the fake punt.
Yep. So this coming off the back of the Lions getting stuffed where they forgot to put Montgomery in the game. Next drive, they come out from their own, what was it? Their own 46, I believe, somewhere around there.
Fourth and two at the 43.
Oh, even further behind. So 4th and 2, and the Lions call a fake punt, which was predictable in and of itself, because the Lions were due for a fake punt. We know how they like to operate. The problem is the Eagles left their starting defense on the field because they were expecting a fake, and the Lions don't check out of it. And the result is you are asking Trevor Nowaski to block Jalen Carter in the A gap. What did you think was going to happen?
So I get fake punts and fake field goals are almost always in the category of it's a bad play call if it doesn't work and it's a great play call if it does. Like that is generally the median football fans approach to those plays because they're so infrequent that we don't really ever get to discuss, right? Like it's not like there we never see a team punt on 4th and 3 and people go like they should have fake punted it. What are they doing? Right? Like it just we never think about it unless it happens and then it's
Yeah.
just results based charting. So
Except for
um,
the one fake punt like 5 years ago where Jack Fox dropped a dime and it went right through the guy's hands. That's the
yes,
exception.
right. So, um, I get where he was coming from on this, where you've been scuffling on offense. You need that little jolt to get you going, but it's too obvious. Every special teams unit that's competently coached is going to be ready for fake punts on 4th and short from around midfield. That is where they happen, right? Like Lions have been at their best getting those when they do them like deep in their own territory and places where people are not expecting them. That's a place where they expect them. And when the Eagles had their ones on the defensive line, that's where you need to either not call the direct snap to the up back or just check out of it entirely. Like it either needed to be a Jack Fox punt version of one, or maybe one where like you get it to the guy like on the outside and he tries to run outside or whatever, but you can't go up the middle on that one.
Bring back they ran this play last year against the Bucks, the one where it's Sione Vaki on an angle route. Give me that.
Yes.
Because like I was gonna say just have Fox throw it, but okay, maybe with the wind you don't want your punter throwing it to the outside hash. Fine. But Sione Vaki on the angle route in the middle, Fox will hit that throw. Like no doubt about it. And Vaki will make that catch and he will get open because he's slippery enough. That's the one I want to see.
Right. I just ultimately bad judgment. Like Dan can call it, but then if the special teams coach or whoever needs to be looking at who's on the field and just say we're not doing that. That's not going to
Yeah.
work.
Please see Jalen Carter and say, don't do it. Just don't. Stop, please. So,
Right.
yeah, for special teams, ends up being a pretty negative game for them. Now, as for the actual decisions to go for it, let's run through these.
So, it's a long list. Fourth and
Yep.
six from the plus 40. Uh Down 3-0, 135 to go first quarter. They punt. I think that's right.
Ye
Your
you
own
can't,
your
yeah.
yeah.
And you're not kicking field goals with the win,
Yep.
so
Fourth and one. Minus 48. 3-0. Early second quarter. They go. I think that's pretty obvious. It's fourth
yeah,
and one.
that one you're fine to go for.
Fourth and five, plus 32. Down 13-6. Early third quarter. They go for this one. This is interesting because
Again, you
the
can't
missed
really kick
extra
a field
point,
goal.
the missed extra point from Fox and how bad it was really spooks you here.
I it would have been what 49-yard field goal, 48-yard field
49
goal
rough. Yeah, yeah.
with the wind. I don't trust Bates to accuracy wise to hit it.
I think at Ford Field I kick.
Oh,
Maybe.
at Ford Field, if it was a perfectly clear day with no wind, kick it. If it was in a dome, kick it. But because it was windy and Bates had already missed an extra point, I'm out.
Yeah. I think and it's just about like what and I think the biggest thing with all of these is how the math changes based on the caliber of offense you're getting. Because the magic of Campbell's decision making has been predicated on you're giving an extra down to a top five offense. And in this game, you're giving an extra down to an offense that is face planting. And that's kind of the problem.
It's back to the 2021, like the first year where it's like we have no idea what we're doing. The fourth down is now just to hope that we can get something going.
Right. So that one, I think it's probably right. Fourth and goal from the three, 13-6, midway through the third quarter, they go for it. I think I'm fine with that. My feeling was, how close are you going to get to the end zone again when they're not driving the field very well?
That's the thing is like that's the one that a lot of people look at. By the way, I don't know where this narrative that the Lions should have just kicked field goals on these fourth downs. There was only two that they could have, like
Right.
realistically, and they would have lost by one. So I don't know where this narrative that the Lions like blew this game by not kicking field goals came from. You got to go for it. Just hope that your best offensive player makes a block next time. The problem I had with that drive is the run on third and goal. That I didn't like.
Well, again, they were trying to catch them
Yeah.
in like, oh, they're coming after the quarterback. We can get down to the two or whatever, and it just doesn't work. And that's again, those are things they've relied on. So anyway, back to the decisions. Fourth and three from the plus 45, late third quarter, down 13-6. They go for it, don't get it.
You kind of
I
got to
feel like
go. Like,
uh, if it's fourth and five, I think you punt. But it's fourth and
yeah,
three.
it's the same thing. Like, you're in no man's land.
They
It's
got
not
caught
giving.
on so many of these that are just like,
This is the problem with, and this is the whole thing with the Lions philosophy is if your process says, okay, actually, this is what was it? And this is the thing with Kyle Dubas and for NHL that drove people crazy. What was the MLB decision with the pulling the pitcher in the middle of like a perfect game or something in the World Series? It was years ago. But it was like, oh, our process said that we had to do this, so we did it, and it cost them the World Series, whatever. Like your process is your process, but if it's going wrong, you kind of have to consider doing something else.
yeah, that's the tough part is in an abstract, these are good decisions, but they just weren't happening in this game.
Yeah,
And so then you end up getting the logical result of that, where fourth and 10 from your own 42, down 10 points with 5 minutes to go in the game, they punt. What?
which yeah, like it, but don't trust your offense to get 10 yards, I guess. Like,
I mean, that's scared of your own shadow, right? Like that's we got spooked out of all these fails, so now we're just giving up.
yep, that was the most wave the white flag move we've seen from Campbell possibly ever.
Yeah.
So,
It said a lot. And I as you mentioned, going back to 2021, that was when we saw some of these issues come up. And what are the similarities to that? You don't have an impenetrable offense, especially on the offensive line, where that year you had the injuries to, Decker and Ragnow, and it was just not a very good unit. Sewell was a rookie, etc. And you had Dan Campbell as a play caller, not as just managing the game. And
yeah.
do you remember and this is relevant to the timeouts thing that we're about to talk about. The probably most buffoonish moment of the Campbell era was the Thanksgiving game against Chicago that
The
year.
double
At the end,
timeout.
the double timeout. Dan Campbell was the play caller for that game as well. That was after he had disappeared Anthony Lynn. So,
Granted, that was Aaron Glenn was the one calling the second timeout. So
yeah,
it
but
was
there
just
were
a
other decisions in that game too.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I just wonder how much he's being spread thin by having
Yeah.
to call plays too.
Well, and that is where I was really frustrated. Like honestly, the fourth down decisions are what they are. What frustrated me the most was the end of the first half, which
Yep.
Dan Campbell holds on to all three timeouts, allows the Eagles to just drain the rest of the first half. And then the Lions get the ball back with 16 seconds left at the 35 with all three timeouts, and they don't even try. You could have at least tried to get 20, 30 yards, maybe see if something happens. At that
Try a
point,
Hail
you're off.
Mary, like, just
Well, and
something.
you're coming off the back of a two-play 74-yard drive. Throw another crosser to JMO for all I care. Just try to do
Right.
something. So that entire last 2 minutes of the first half was worse to me than the fourth down decisions.
Yeah, and Campbell's been kind of bad at those like timeouts late in the half. That's been like his biggest weak spot in game management. So
Yeah. This is where
not
we
great.
need the Madden player in the booth calling timeouts for get the pro
And
Madden players.
he justified it with we're getting the ball out of the half and blah blah blah, but double them up, get an extra
Yeah,
possession, right? Like
try.
exactly.
You can always bail out and take like if you get to 3rd and 10 on that drive, like let's say you had like 40 seconds left and the first two plays don't work and you're like, this isn't happening. Okay, take a knee. The Eagles aren't gonna like they'll let you go into halftime after that. So it's you could pull the shoot at any time. It's better to pull the shoot later than preemptively.
Right. I mean it just a really everything in this game except for the but even the defense was frustrating because they were doing well and the team wasn't winning, right? Like
There,
every phase of the game was frustrating.
when's the last time that you've been frustrated that the defense was doing too well proportionate
Yeah.
to the rest of the team?
Right, like that's a game where almost you just want the defense to get steamrolled, where it's just like, we just got blown out, whatever. But they made it more painful because they kept giving the Lions offense chances to step on upturned rakes. So the other thing we do have to mention, the JMO penalty, not good.
Just he's I saw a clip from a show in Detroit that will not be named about how this is indicative of JMO's character and the kind of person he is and how he's just kind of stupid. He's just very I don't even know, man. He lives a little too much in the moment. He's a
Yeah,
weird guy.
I am the biggest proponent of being against the excessive celebration penalties. I think they're ridiculous.
Oh
I
yeah,
the one
the
the only ones I'm like, yeah, probably is like, like the Michael Irvin like run up the tunnel out of the stadium thing. Like obviously
yeah.
if you're
But
if you're
like
doing something sensational, yeah.
jumping on the upright is
Well, he wasn't like
like
he wasn't like scaling the uprights. Like he
no,
was
he
just
just
on the he was on the basis of it. Like whatever. Not to mention all the stuff about, gang signs and sexual dancing or whatever. Just give me a break. Like what is this?
JMO doing the like humping the ground in the divisional round last year. Okay, fine. Fine. You could ding him for that, but hugging the upright, like really? That's the bar is so weird. Even like the slam dunk through the upright is a stupid rule. Like and the NFL, I mean, people call it the no fun league for a reason. JMO's been dinged over like 100 grand for celebration fines in his career now. He's he definitely has found the line.
Yeah, I hate those that are flags. We don't have those penalties in hockey. We don't have those penalties in baseball. Those sports go on and it's fine. We don't need that, but whatever. It's a thing. And so long as it is doing that with the modern like if you did that in 2000, 10 where the extra points are kicked from the 2 and instead it's from the
Yeah,
17, whatever, who cares?
cool.
I do it every time if you have a good kicker. But in the modern day, moving it back to close to a 50-yarder, especially outdoors with this wind, that's an immature penalty, and it's frustrating.
The yeah, JMO celebrations are just they're frustrating, but they're kind of funny at the same time. There was one, and this didn't count because the play didn't count, but back in 2022, that week, that last game of the season in Green Bay, where there was a flea flicker touchdown that got called back against the Lions because Dan Skipper held someone. I remember JMO scored that touchdown and they cut away so no one saw it on the broadcast, but he gave the double birds to the Packers fans in the stands as a celebration. And that's another one. Like that would have been a flag, but the play didn't count, so no one cared. So he's a very expressive individual. He's gonna get fined a lot in his career. Try to limit the penalties.
Yeah, and it's just been a thing and unfortunate because despite all of the, the gun without a permit or whatever, he actually does like a lot of philanthropic work in Detroit,
Yeah,
like more prominently than almost anyone else on the team.
he'll
So
probably
he
pass
seems,
out turkeys again for Thanksgiving.
yeah, he
So,
seems to be a good kid, but I don't know. Sometimes the decision making on the field's a little questionable.
well, I think it's because, like, by his own admission, he says he comes up with his celebrations when he's at the 1 yard line. He doesn't think. Like, he's not thinking in that moment, like, oh, this is going to be a penalty, but I want to do this. He's just like, I need a celebration. Jump on the upright. And then after, he's like, ah. So, I don't know. Is what it is. Overall, deeply, deeply frustrating game. And we'll see what we'll talk about the Lions' upcoming game against the Giants next week. But in the meantime, we also have to recap what else happened around the NFL in Week 11. Starting with, oh, what should we start with? Let's start with the NFC North corner. The Bears hold on uh, against the Vikings in. We almost got a bit of deja vu where the Vikings play not great offensively for 3 quarters and then they start to figure it out in the fourth. But the Bears, thanks to a big kickoff return at the end, able to escape with the win. The first place in the NFC North Chicago Bears are now 7-3 on the season, and they possibly get to play Mason Rudolph next weekend.
Yeah, this game was I
How
don't know.
about
I think
9?
the first talking point from this game is the JJ McCarthy situation. One touchdown, two interceptions, 16 for 32, 4.7 yards an attempt. Oof.
Bear, Bears fans are
Oof.
having they're having so much fun with this 9 persona and dunking on him. It's
Yeah, I would have liked if he could have played like that against the Lions, but I I mean, I think you have to stick with him if you're the Vikings
oh
for
yeah.
definitely for the end of the year, and I think maybe to start next year because again, you gave up too much to invest in him, and he's still really young. Like he's 22 years old. He wasn't Bo Nix. Like he wasn't some old like developed near a ceiling guy. He was a very very young quarterback who didn't uh pass it much at
I was gonna
Michigan.
say, like, it's not like he was doing a bunch of crazy things at Michigan. He was throwing like 6 passes a game.
Yeah, so give him time. And if it still is this way at the end of the season, then maybe you bring in a good backup to try to compete with him in training camp. And then if you move on, you move on. It's not where they want to be as a franchise, obviously, but you gave up too much to get him. And uh, this is just a weird, like, so the Vikings come all the way back. They score, go up 17-16, and then they give up the kickoff return. And it's just like, come on, man. And the Bears to me are the Commanders from last year at the moment. We'll see if it holds up when their schedule gets tougher, but they're winning like really dumb games in really dumb ways. I mean, you look at their last 3 games, the crazy game against the Bengals where they blow it and then they don't. The game against the Giants where they rally because Jackson Dart gets hurt. And then a game against the Vikings where they blow it and then they don't. What are we supposed to make of this team?
They have not beat anyone. They've beat the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Saints, the Bengals, the Giants, the Vikings, who they split with.
That's like 7 of the top 12 picks in the upcoming draft.
They haven't beat anyone. I'm sorry, until you beat like we'll see what they do against the Steelers if Aaron Rodgers plays, I don't know, because the Steelers are the most average team in the NFL. So that is a good litmus test for are the Bears an average or an above average team? But I want to see what Caleb Williams does against the Eagles, the Packers, the Browns. Good defenses, and we'll
The
see what he
Niners,
does. The
I
Niners,
mean,
who are
their whole
always,
schedule is pretty tough to the rest of the way.
yep, and then the Lions in week 18, which hopefully doesn't mean anything, but I have a feeling it might. The Bears are just weird. The Vikings 4-6 now. They're
They're
done.
cooked.
Yep, Vikings are cooked. Bears are frauds. The Packers are remain the dumbest team in the NFL. They almost find a way to lose to Jameis Winston and the New York Giants. in the least convincing game of all time. Shout out to Christian Watson for saving them with a crazy catch in the end zone, and then Jameis Winston doing the Jameis Winston thing and throwing a bonehead pick in the end zone at the end of the game. What a weird, what a weird team. No, like
Jameis has got to be on my short list of favorite quarterbacks of all time. Like, what a treat he is to watch. It's just
he,
so chaotic all the time.
Jameis Winston had a 10-yard QB sneak in this game. When have you ever seen that where they just don't tackle him?
He can play well for periods and then it just unravels in spectacular ways. There's really nothing else like it in the NFL. That interception he throws at the end is just horrible.
Nothing will ever top the 30 and 30 season that Jameis had
Oh,
with the Bucks. That was the greatest thing ever.
that was you have to like frame his stats and like print it up and frame it on a wall with that season highlighted. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this is a game that the Packers should win. They did win it. They didn't look very convincing doing it. Their offense still has pretty serious questions. I mean, they're pretty much just we're not very good at offense, and then occasionally we'll just jack one up and then we'll catch it, and that works against a lot of teams. But I remain very skeptical of this team up against the Eagles or even the Rams. Honestly, with the way the Rams are playing, like I
Yep.
don't know.
Now,
The
this,
Packers look like a good team, but they look not that different than last year in
yeah,
terms of like they can do a lot of dumb stuff to win games against bad teams, but like is the all like back foot throw into double coverage offense going to win you a Super Bowl? Probably not.
one thing that is noteworthy is because the Lions play the Packers on the short week next week. Josh Jacobs, injured in this game, did not return, avoids IR, but seems like he might miss Sunday, which means he will probably be very questionable for Thanksgiving. Just something to keep in mind. Jordan Love also got banged up with I think it was that they checked for a shoulder and a concussion in this game. Comes back into it. He's healthy, but just something to monitor.
Hey,
Malik
I mean
Willis
it
came into this game, and the Giants didn't realize that the Packers are going to stop throwing the ball when he did.
it forced the Packers to play their best quarterback. I mean, every time Malik Willis comes in, it works.
Unstoppable. For some
NFL teams
reason,
have never seen speed option. They've never seen zone read. They've never seen a rollout. It's so bizarre.
I don't get it, man. It is the weirdest phenomenon. So the Packers remain weird. Other games around the league, the Bills, Josh Allen has 6 touchdowns against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, that defense is real weird because that like sometimes they'll give up 200 rushing yards, sometimes they'll give up 300 passing yards. You don't really know, but they're going to give up yards in chunks. This was a weird game because for the Buccaneers, 32 points scored, none of them to who you would expect. This was a Sean Tucker game of all players, whereas like the guys like Egbuka, Baker wasn't particularly good, and then some other guys like Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard were okay. It was very odd from the Buccaneers. They seem to fall into this category of like classic good, not great NFC contenders.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a major issue playing them in the playoffs if that came around.
Yep. The Panthers beat the Falcons in overtime. They sweep that season series, which Bryce Young looked pretty good. Ted McMillan looked pretty good. The Panthers putting together a quietly decent season at 6-5 now. Don't think they're gonna seriously push for the playoffs, but they could push for that division perhaps. I don't know. It'll be
Oh, and
interesting.
Michael Penix Jr. is dead.
Yep.
ACL.
Yeah, that's he's got to get surgery. He'll be out until next August. So Kirk Cousins is back in action for the Falcons without Drake London because Drake London also got a knee injury. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. The 49ers beat the Cardinals in a 41-22 loss. Jacoby Brissett set the NFL record for the most completions in a game with 47. He-
I hadn't seen that box score. Oh my God.
47 of 57 for 452, 2 and 2. Michael Wilson had 15 catches for 185 yards. Trey McBride also had 10 catches for 115 and 1. The Cardinals, they had 36 rushing yards in this game, but 452 passing.
and you
488 total yards
and you lose
to
by
the
19.
and the Niners only had 281. Bizarre. Just
I
bizarre.
the one thing I want to note about this game, the Niners returned the opening kickoff to the 1 yard line, and then they punched it in. I don't
I
know
was
how many games has the opening possession started on the 1 yard line?
I don't know if it was the opening possession, but I remember Amir Abdullah did that for the Lions against Green Bay once.
Yeah, it wasn't the opening possession, but yes, I do remember that. That was the one
That's
where they finally snapped the Lambeau curse.
yeah. On the in the dumbest game where like Megatron
All
drops an
timer
onside
game.
kick. Yeah,
Yep.
and then a missed field goal. What a stupid team this is. The Seahawks and Rams play a football game. Sam Darnold decided that he wanted to do his best Jared Goff against the Texans impression, threw four interceptions, and the Seahawks were a 61-yard field goal miss away from winning this game at the end. Weird.
Yeah, the like Sam Darnold ceiling seemed to reappear in this game, but credit to him, 29 of 44, shoot or shoot, right? Like even if you're having a bad game, you got to keep running the offense and playing quarterback.
The interceptions he threw were so brutal in this game that
They were terrible.
we
Oh,
learned two things. One, the Rams defense is pretty good. Two, the Seahawks defense is pretty darn good. The Seahawks are such a weird team where they can play nickel because they like so much because they have a nickel that's like 220 pounds and so they
right.
don't sacrifice too much run defense. That Seahawks defense is legit.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams are good teams, and Stafford continues to have the season of his career.
At
Um,
37 or something like
yeah, hey, I'm all for it. But this was the game where the Rams were wearing the black jerseys, right? Or was that the previous week?
I think it was this one.
Okay. Either way, those are horrible. What was going on with those jerseys? They're not black is not one of their colors. Why are
The ri
they?
the rivalry jerseys are so weird. Like like I like the Patriots ones that are kind of this off blue,
Yeah.
whatever. I but like the Dolphins have black with their orange and green too. The Bills have just whiteouts, which are okay. The Cardinals have the tortilla chip. It's I don't know. What are the Jets ones?
This is my statement about NBA as well, which has too many jerseys. I should never turn on a game and not know who the teams are because of the jerseys.
I I don't know. I do like having more jersey options because it's more fun. But yeah, at least stick with the same colors. I never want to see the Lions pull up to a game in red.
Speaking of
Like,
which, we actually have two Lions jersey things to talk about.
oh
Number
yeah,
one, they're wearing black this weekend. Number two, they
white out.
are wearing silver pants again, which is extremely
Oh,
good for me and for the traditionalists. These last 2 weeks, seeing the white with the silver again. Now we just need to see the blue with the silver. That is the uniform that God intended
so
for the Detroit Lions.
this is my thing. I am a big proponent of the gray pants with the blue tops at home, but
Yep.
then the blue pants with the white tops on the road.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like the monochromatic stuff. Like we
Well,
need
guess what? You're gonna get all whites for the Thursday night against the Cowboys in a couple of weeks. They're doing the white
which
out
that'll be interesting to do at home. Like I'm actually kind of okay just to see what that looks like for a home game.
against the Cowboys, who are the one team that like never wears dark. We're gonna make them wear colors in this one, but that's a couple weeks away. I do find it interesting that they're wearing the blacks on a non-primetime game. I thought that they would try
Yeah,
to save that, but I kind of figured, are they just gonna do stock homes like, on Thanksgiving then?
they might do the throwbacks. I mean, they've done those
You,
in the past
you
on Thanksgiving.
the NFL allows three alternate jersey games per year, right? So that would be your third.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. I think they're going to do stock because I think they're going to do the blacks against a Vikings whiteout on Christmas.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
But alas, the Other games around the NFL, Chargers get killed by the Jaguars in a very bizarre game. The Chargers are so bipolar, it's ridiculous. The Broncos defeat the Chiefs, who the Chiefs are now 5-5. The Broncos are 9-2 and first in the AFC right now. The, the more things change, the more we're back to the way they used to be. The Broncos and Patriots now rule the AFC again.
Yeah, it's same story. If it's like if you look at the NHL standings right now, and it's like Carolina, New Jersey, Dallas, Detroit. It's like welcome back to the '90s, 2000s NHL. Same thing here in the AFC. It's like welcome back to the like my childhood AFC.
I was gonna say welcome back to 2015 or something like
Sure.
that, but
I
with
mean
the Colts
those
at the top two,
with the
Steelers are
Colts.
still
Yep,
around.
yep, yep.
It's
Colts, Broncos, Steelers, Patriots. Where have we seen this one before?
and you know what's crazy? I looking at the AFC playoff picture is so dumb right now. Broncos, Patriots, Colts, Steelers, Bills, Chargers, Jaguars. I see six teams that I'm like, you're all frauds. And then the Bills who are good but bad at the same time. The AFC has not been this wide open in a long time.
The Broncos is they are just a crazy story because they've won so many one-score games and
They're the
just are
Chiefs from
generally.
last year.
But they also lost two one-score games that they arguably should have won. They
Yes.
choked with that Colts field goal at the end, and then that
Dumb
Chargers
penalty.
game, the Chargers game. I mean, they were up in that game and then let it slip away in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. Every week they play a competitive game, but you look at their remaining schedule: Commanders, Raiders, Packers at home, Jags at home, Chargers at home. The only one that looks like a schedule loss is the Christmas game against KC, but could they win
They
13 games? I mean, like
I think the
14
Broncos
games?
this feels like the year that the Titans won the AFC, were the number one seed in the AFC, and then the Bengals went on to the Super Bowl. Like the
That
Broncos are gonna
a
be the one seed and then just lose.
that AFC playoff bracket is like a fever dream if you look back at it. Uh, some of the teams that were in the mix that year, but I all credit to Sean Payton though. Like
Yep.
I thought when after the whole thing with Russ went down in flames, I thought the Broncos were the most hopeless franchise in the NFL. Like they had traded their picks, they seemed to be at a total dead end, and they have done just an incredible job to get back on track after drafting Knicks and then just building
That
on that really good
defense.
defense, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
man.
yeah, they've leaned on what they're best at and they found an okay enough quarterback and boom, here they are.
Now, I want to highlight this because this is something everyone's going to cheer for. Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. Can we get the Chiefs two more losses to get them to 10-7 and possibly keep them out of the playoffs? Knowing that
I don't see it, but maybe.
The Jags have the tiebreaker on them. The Chargers, if they win that game, would have the tiebreaker on them. The Ravens are roaring back into contention. There's potential here, is all I'm saying.
We needed the Lions to beat them. That was the one that really needed to happen to
If,
trigger the Chiefs'
oh,
downfall.
if the Chiefs were 4-6 right now, it would be so beautiful. Aside from that, I don't think there's anything else I really want to talk about from around the league. So let's do a quick Giants preview. As we said, Giants not good record-wise, but they got some pieces up front. They got Dexter Lawrence, they got Brian Burns. Abdul Carter's had kind of a really horrible rookie year. Kayvon Thibodeau's kind of bad, but they've got some pieces on the defensive line. Lawrence is going to be I'm scared of that. I don't Coyote Awashika and Graham Glasgow against Dexter Lawrence. Yeah, I'm not trusting the interior much with that.
On the other hand, this isn't a particularly good defense. They've given up
No.
a lot of points this season. 300 points against. You look at their schedule: 27 to Green Bay, 24 to the Bears, 34 to the Niners, 38 to the Eagles, 33 to the Broncos. I mean, this is not a good defense. There should be ways for the Lions to work around those problems up front.
And
Um,
his name is Jameson Williams. This is gonna be a big JMO game. I've got a feeling.
And on the flip side, I don't think this is a terribly tough test for the defense. Dart might be back. I saw
I'm
he's
gonna find that out
practicing.
right now. If he's
Um,
practicing, he probably is because he was concussion, right? So
Yeah, I mean, if he is back, that'll give some challenges, but this isn't a very good running team. Yards per carry numbers for their running backs are all very poor, and that's with Scatabo out. And then you look at their wide receivers. I mean, I'm not that. Wandell Robinson is fine, but Malik
Without
Neighbors is
Neighbors,
gone.
yeah, without Neighbors and Scatabo, a lot of the oomph in this offense has been taken out. Dart's gonna run, which
Yep,
will
he'll
help
make
them
he'll
move
make
the
some
ball.
plays, but the skill position talent isn't overwhelming or anything.
Their offensive line is okay. They've got some
Sure.
guys,
Yeah.
but
For a Lions defense that's been playing well, they should be able to take care of business against this team.
the Lions are 10-point favorites. Like, this is pretty much the exact same situation as the Commanders game. You're coming off a bad loss. Do something. Just do anything.
Yeah, I mean, if the Lions lose this game, I don't know. We'll start doing draft prospect profiles for the final weeks of this podcast because
The one thing I will flag is for as much as the Lions are big favorites, it probably will be a bit of a closer game than you would expect. The Giants, one score loss to the Packers, one score loss to the Bears, one score loss to the Broncos that they probably should have won. They beat the Eagles earlier in the year. Like they've had close games.
yeah,
So it,
they've been frisky, but the
yeah.
Lions should definitely win. And
Oh yeah.
my biggest thing after the Eagles game is the pressure is really on in these games because you've got matchups with the Packers, the Rams, an outdoor game against the Bears. I mean, even the Steelers are in the playoff hunt. Like, you just cannot afford to blow this game.
Well, and
And the
Vikings already beat
Lions,
you.
right. I mean, the Lions are they have the talent to make the playoffs. They're clearly a top 7 team in the NFC to me. But that you're not selected. This isn't the NCAA tournament. You don't just get picked by a committee. You have to actually win the games. And they have a tough schedule, and that's allowed teams with easier schedules to get inside positioning on them. They're out of the playoff picture at the moment. It's time to get serious. The season is on the line now, and it starts on Sunday against the Giants.
Yeah. So, with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you made it this far, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're on YouTube. Follow us and leave us a review if you're on a podcasting platform. You can follow the show on Twitter at Payne and Drain. You can find me on Twitter at ZachPayne41, Alex at Alex_Drain. And we'll see you guys next week. We'll have to have an earlier episode next week because of the Thanksgiving game next Thursday. So, we'll check back in between this Giants game and that Packers game next Thursday. And until then, have a good weekend, everyone. Cheers.